So, Marsha, you were born in Boston, in Massachusetts, which is a
Yeah,
long way from Australia, the place that would eventually dub you the Queen of Pop.
yeah.
I wanted to start out with a 9-year-old Marsha singing in church choirs.
Wonderful memories. You
So,
know,
what? Yeah,
most black kids learn to sing in church.
right.
And the church is a very large part of our community.
And
And so, I learned to sing in church. In actual fact, my church was it was actually Church of New England, Church of of England, Church of England.
yeah,
At work, and then my godmother was Baptist. And so I'd go to my church, and then I'd go and pick her up because she was blind. And
wow.
I'd go and pick her up and take her to church. And she happened to be the choral leader in the church and the piano player. And so kids weren't allowed in the choir booth because we made too much noise. But I learned to be very quiet and very good. So I was actually able to sit in the choir booth with the older ladies and steal some chops from them,
What sort of stuff were you singing? Was it all group stuff, or did they push up the front? And did you have a?
No, no, no. In my godmother's church and Flo's church, I didn't sing at all. But in my church, I would just sing hymns and
Yeah,
give you a few lines of a hymn. And yeah, it was great, great way to grow up. And my first experience as a singer was they used to have at my church a thing called a mother and daughter banquet.
wow.
Right? And so my mother came home one day and said, here's a song, and I think you could learn this song. Would you like to sing it at the mother and daughter banquet? And I said, yeah, of course. I said, yes, I would love to, Mom. And so she got me the song, and I remember retaining it, and I always retain through repetition.
Yeah.
And I learned the song, and then I sang it at the mother and daughter's banquet, and it was a great big round table, and they sort of put me in the middle of the table where all the mothers and daughters were sitting, and I didn't see anyone's face. I remember seeing everyone's pair of shoes. I didn't look up once, but I got the song together. My
Were you
mother was,
nervous? Were you nervous? Is that?
oh, wow, what? Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, right? Silly question.
But a good thing, I'm still nervous when I go on stage.
So whenever you get off stage, you can always tell people's shoes in the audience, but you just don't know what faces. You don't know who was there. It's
A little
like,
bit better than that now.
I think Stacey was there. I know because she showed me those
Right,
shoes last Tuesday.
patent leather shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
So
Yeah.
when you kind of, because in a career to date that has sung in so many different genres, can we call it that? So many different styles. Did you always in the beginning kind of see yourself as kind of a gospel inspired singer? Or is that even a thing that you think, or are you just Marsha?
Nah, thank you. I'm just Marsha. I'm able to sing quite a few different things, and I studied opera, which was
Wow.
really interesting at the New England Conservatory of Music, and I really worked out that wasn't me.
Yeah.
Once again, I stole some chops and left.
Yeah.
I stole some things that I've still used today, and I left. But I was more into Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin because I grew up during the hippie movement in America. And so that's the kind of music. And I've always liked people. My mother liked Nat King Cole and Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald and Frank Sinatra, Mel Torme. So we had that music too. And then we had reggae because my heritage, we are Jamaican. So
Right.
I remember listening to really cool reggae jams and then of course all the stuff that came up with the Supremes and the Four Tops and Cream and Led Zeppelin. Yeah.
So,
Great stuff.
so you kind of just like the rest of us, a disciple at the altar of music, really?
Betcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm eclectic when it comes to what I listen to and what I like. I like basically anything that's in tune, Bradley.
Yeah.
That works for me. Yeah.
So so what was the first music then that really grabbed you? The one that sort of made you want to be a singer, like as a job, beyond just a passion. When did you go?
Didn't think of a job. It's funny that, I always knew I wanted to sing because I was obsessed with whatever I heard on the radio. And I used to think, because they'd have the top 20 or the top 25 songs in America. And I remember I'd have to be sitting in front of a radio, and have a listen to what was going on.
Yeah.
And I used to think people were inside the radio playing. Imagination's wonderful. But I remember seeing Mahalia Jackson singing for President Kennedy's inauguration. And I must have been very close to the screen because my mother, I was staring at it, listening to Mahalia. And my mother said, one day I believe that will be you.
Wow.
How cool is that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Isn't that
Wow.
cool? Mm.
And did you say yeah? Or
No, I just kept looking.
you're like, shh, I'm listening. I'm listening. Shh,
Oh
I'm
no,
in the
no,
song.
you don't do that. You don't do that
No,
to a
of
black.
course not.
No, no, no. It was a lovely thing for her to say. She
Yeah.
encouraged me. She encouraged me every step of the way in my career, and I didn't have a stage mom at all. It's just that's what seemed to float my boat, and she was kind enough to sort of let me be me.
So did she give you permission to go to Woodstock when you were 16 years old, Woodstock Festival? Or did you just kind of maybe sneak out to church and just head off on the side?
Once again, you don't sneak out of a black mother's house. Okay,
Right, right.
she will find you. I'm
I'm
telling
taking
you that.
notes. Hold on, Marsha. I'm taking notes.
You gotta, oh, listen. What happened was, I was listening to a radio station in Boston called WBCN, and they were talking about this concert in Boston. Used to have huge concerts with Buddy Miles and all these great musicians who would play in a club in Boston, and then play in the Commons, the Boston Commons,
Yeah.
which is a big park. And they were talking and preaching about this incredible concert that was going to happen in upstate New York. And I said to my mom, "Oh my, I'd love to go." And she said, "Over my dead body." So anyway, I happened to be a babysitter for a lady who lived on my street, and she spoke to my mom and said, "Oh look, we want to go up. If we go up, can we take Marsha so she can take care of our daughter Honore?" And my mother said, "Yeah, hey."
So you got
So
an in.
I was with an adult, and so an adult my mother knew and trusted. So I
Yeah.
went up. We all went up, and Honore hated it, and they left, and I said, "See ya." I was in it. There was no way I was going to moonwalk out of that situation. Yeah.
When mum asks, tell her I'm at your place and swing by in the morning and pick me up.
No, we were gone. We were in upstate New York. So but it was okay because look, once you got there, the vibe was just on another level.
Yeah, I mean, what
Everybody,
was that like? I mean, for someone that can only imagine it all. I mean, it's a part of musical history. It's a part of musical folklore. It's
yes,
it's a pivotal moment in musical history. What was that
yes.
like?
Well, do know that we had no idea
Hmm.
what it was going to turn into.
Mm.
Okay, but it was like during the peak almost of the hippie revolution, and the whole thing about being hippies was to take care of one another and nurture one another, because I don't know of one molestation or anything really bad that happened up there. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, people did bad drugs, and that was about the worst thing that happened. But we were all safe, and we knew it. We were all kindred spirits. And it was absolutely fantastic. I've never been that dirty in my life. When I got home, I
Yeah.
remember. I remember having a bath, and the ring on the bathtub was like, oh my God. But yeah, and I got fed, I got taken care of. I ran into a girl. I used to go to summer camp, and I ran into Lisa at the concert. So we sort of hung out, and it was great, man. It was, yeah, it was, and the music was, as you know,
Hmm.
fantastic. Just, it was a great time. It was a great time in history. It really was. But we had no idea.